You're watching Home TV, Channel 6.
Judge Ginsburg and the Senate Judiciary Committee. Will the first Supreme Court nominee since Clarence Thomas have smooth sailing or a bumpy ride? The mighty Mississippi continues to crest, while Mother Nature scorches the southeast with withering heat and no relief. And Eye on America. Tonight, big city street gangs come to Main Street, USA, and what some small towns are doing about it.
This is the CBS Evening News with Dan Rather and Connie Chung.
Good evening. Connie is on assignment tonight. It was a big day on Capitol Hill with action affecting President Clinton's agenda, your wallet, and the law of the land. It was day one of confirmation hearings for the president's first Supreme Court nominee. Mr. Clinton named a new FBI chief. The Clinton compromise on gays in the military came under fire, and there were warning flags on the economy and the president's plan to try to get it going again. First, the Senate Judiciary Committee and the U.S. Supreme Court. Law correspondent Rita Braver has the Ginsburg story.
Supreme Court nominee Ruth Bader Ginsburg set the tone for her own confirmation hearings when she showed off a book her grandson made.
It says, "My grandma is a very, very special."
And her hearings are special because after the last nomination that turned into open warfare between Clarence Thomas and Anita Hill, the Senate Judiciary Committee finally has a non-controversial Supreme Court candidate.
Congeniality prevails over confrontation. Backslapping has replaced backstabbing.
Some Democrats had hoped for a liberal justice.
The Supreme Court today is plagued by a vision of the Constitution which is cramped and narrow.
But Ginsburg sees herself this way.
My approach, I believe, is neither liberal nor conservative.
And that may be why anti-abortion groups and other conservatives are not actively opposing her, even though she supports abortion rights. Overall, her judicial approach is cautious.
I think generally in our society, change is incremental, and real change, enduring change, happens one step at a time.
When the public hearings end, Ginsburg will attend a first-ever closed session with the Senate Judiciary Committee. In the wake of explosive sexual harassment charges by Anita Hill against Clarence Thomas, the committee is requiring private meetings with all nominees to go over personal matters, even though Chairman Joseph Biden calls Ginsburg squeaky clean. Rita Braver, CBS News at the Supreme Court.
Senate Republican leader Bob Dole is promising to cooperate on quick confirmation for the president's latest nominee. As expected, President Clinton named New York federal Judge Louis Freeh to be the new director of the FBI. Freeh is a former FBI agent himself. He says one of his goals would be to keep the FBI free from political influence. Plenty of politics today for and against the president's new policy on gays in the military. Chief Washington correspondent Bob Schieffer has our report on that.
At the White House this morning, in New York later today, in Hollywood last night, gay men and women claim the president sold them out. The issue put everyone on edge. When a TV interviewer suggested the new policy was an act of weakness, the president exploded.
I am the first president who ever took on this issue. Is that a sign of weakness? It may be a sign of madness, sir, but it is not a sign of weakness.
But there was also a lot of confusion about what the policy really meant. At the Capitol, the nation's top military brass said they endorsed the new policy.
I do, both as a professional matter and as a private matter.
Joe Sullivan?
The policy, yes,
do you
sir,
agree with the policy that announced?
Yes, I do.
But what exactly is the policy? As the commanders understood it, homosexual conduct is grounds for dismissal. But those who keep their homosexuality a secret can remain in the service. Senators said such a policy wasn't practical.
You're asking homosexuals to take an oath of celibacy.
I think that there's very little doubt as to what you've done here has muddied the issue to an incredible degree.
For sure, the new policy is confusing. Example, Defense Secretary Aspin said today that declaring one's homosexuality can be considered a homosexual act, grounds for dismissal.
No, the presumption is if they say it, they're gay.
But just yesterday, the president seemed to have another interpretation.
Under this policy, a person can say, I am a homosexual. but I am going to strictly adhere to the code of conduct.
Congress may try to clear up some of the confusion by writing some rules of its own, but that may not matter. With so many people on all sides now so unhappy, it seems likely this won't finally be settled until the courts rule on it, and that could take years. Bob Schieffer, CBS News at the Capitol.
As is the case with gays in the military, President Clinton is also trying to win over members of his own party to support his economic plan. But he's running into trouble there, too, as White House correspondent Susan Spencer reports.
Invoking the name of John Kennedy, President Clinton made an impassioned appeal today to fellow Democrats to come up with a final compromise economic plan that would pass.
Yes, it is painful. Yes, it is difficult, but it is progress. It is change. It will make a difference. We have come this far. This is no time to turn back.
The president mentioned the higher taxes in his plan only in passing, calling for reinstatement of his investments, no further cuts in Medicare, and a serious attack on the deficit.
This deficit is a bone in the throat of America, and we ought to deal with it by passing a plan that reduces it by $500 billion.
The White House will give some on that $500 billion, but the chairman of the Federal Reserve today urged Congress to stick with it.
If the markets perceive that we are backing off the size of the commitment, I think that they will react appropriately negatively.
And ominously, Greenspan hinted that higher interest rates may be looming if inflation heats up again. That's not the only cloud hanging over the economic plan. There is also the dicey legal situation of a key Clinton ally, Ways and Means Committee Chairman Dan Rostenkowski, under suspicion for embezzling money through a scheme at the House Post Office. If indicted and he loses his chairmanship, Mr. Clinton could lose perhaps his most skilled negotiator.
I have no comment today.
But with the economic plan in the balance, the White House is intensely interested in the chairman's case. The optimists here only hope that an indictment, if one comes after the economic plan's been voted on. Susan Spencer, CBS News, the White House.
Straight ahead on the CBS Evening News, the Midwest copes with more mud, more mess, and more water, while a blistering drought burns deeper, crippling crops throughout the South.
This dog food looks totally different from any other dog food I've ever seen.
Pam Lefevre, top breeder of champion English setters, talks about new pedigree mealtime with rice and vegetables.
When you look at the dog food, you see the meat kibbles plus the rice and the peas and carrots. Pedigree does not have any soy in their dog food. This is a very balanced diet. The dogs love it. I think that this might be the future of dog food. I would recommend Pedigree to anyone who wants their dog to be happy and healthy.
Pedigree, developed with vets, recommended by top breeders.
If you're taking the leading prescription medicines for asthma, ulcers, or high blood pressure, and you need a pain reliever, the one doctors recommend most is Tylenol. Not aspirin, not ibuprofen. Talk to your doctor about Tylenol.
Athlete's foot grows just beneath the surface of your skin, so that's where you have to get to cure it. Mycotin penetrates the skin surface with miconazole and kills the annoying fungus right where it starts. Mycotin penetrates, Mycotin cures.
The National Weather Service says we're approaching a turning point in the Midwest flooding, but it's not here yet, and there is still plenty of danger. The Mississippi is over flood stage and still rising south of Hannibal, Missouri, all the way down to Chester, Illinois. The river is expected to crest for a second time in St. Louis tonight and later downriver in Olive Branch, Illinois, where Vicki Mabry begins our coverage.
There's no slacking off in tiny Olive Branch. The Mississippi hasn't crested here yet, and this town of 700 could still be in trouble.
Watch out close and praying that levee don't break.
Young men from a local prison are pitching in. The town is so small it has to have outside help to build up its levees.
Sound off! Let's pump it up!
In the natural sand pits outside of town, volunteers find their ingenuity and muscle are tested.
We drove from like about 12:30 and got down here early this morning.
Stan Tressler felt guilty whining about the water in his basement in Indiana and came to help.
Felt kind of bad about it, a little guilty, and started calling some buddies of mine and all policemen down there where we live at. And we decided to take a couple days off and come out.
One part of the levee is already broken, flooding about 100 homes. They need 200,000 sandbags to save what's still dry.
We're very grateful for everyone, and people have worked hours and hours and hours to where they can't go no more, but it's just the will to help mankind that's helping them go.
Ironically, as the sandbaggers fight to keep the flooding out of Olive Branch, what the farmers here want is water. In Olive Branch, as in many places along the swollen Midwestern rivers, one field is flooded. The next one over is parched.
That's river water out there. What we need is rainwater.
In Olive Branch, they keep sweating and sandbagging. Their energy is holding up. They hope the levee will, too. Vicki Mabry, CBS News, Olive Branch, Illinois.
Federal help for Midwest flood victims cleared its first congressional hurdle today. A House committee approved $3 billion in aid. Flood damage, much of it uninsured, is now estimated at more than $10 billion. The floodwaters are slowly receding now from St. Paul, Minnesota, down to Hannibal, Missouri, and revealing incredible, heartbreaking damage and destruction. Correspondent Sandra Hughes is in Davenport, Iowa.
At least 150 Davenport businesses lost their battle with the swollen Mississippi. Flooding came 3 weeks ago. This is what it left behind.
Good old river bottom mud, and that's what we've been fighting since we started cleaning up.
Many businesses reopened today, including Bill Holgerson's Contractor Supply Company.
It takes just as long to clean it up as it does for it to come up and get you.
And that cleanup is just beginning in places like the River Bandit Stadium. When the flood overtook the stadium, only the pitcher's mound remained dry.
We've got some people working on the field right now to try to squeegee off the mud or the silt that we have. And we're going to hose that down.
All three of Davenport's main city-owned tourist attractions, a park, an amphitheater, and this baseball stadium were devastated by the flood of '93. So much so they're going to remain closed the rest of the year and cost about $1 million to repair. Add to that the $4 million Davenport will need to repair the Public Works Department, which is still underwater.
I think it's catastrophic, but it's not something that we're not going to come back from.
This afternoon, 300 evacuated residents were allowed to return to their homes, but downtown there is still 4.5 feet of water that must recede before the streets are dry. 3 weeks ago, Steve Webster lost his sandbagging race against the river. His business was a foot deep in water. Today, he is back at work, still trying to recover. Could this feasibly put you under?
Possibly. We're going to try to dig back out from under it, but, you know, it's a lot of work.
Digging out of this mucky, smelly mess is just the beginning. Getting businesses back on track will be even more difficult. Sandra Hughes, CBS News, Davenport.
More thunderstorms rumbled across the Midwest today, adding more mud to the flood. But far to the south and east, the skies were clear again, and it's so dry, birds are building nests out of barbed wire. Diana Gonzalez reports on the drought of '93.
Unrelenting heat, and again today in the southeast, no rain. A deadly combination for forests and crops.
Like our corn crop, it's gone. Our cotton crop that stopped out, that's gone. Our soybeans that didn't come up, that's gone.
In what should be a towering cornfield, the parched topsoil looks like sand. The leaves have turned crisp and brown.
That's steady.
So far, the southeast crop losses total an estimated $500 million. Today brought more scorching temperatures to the region. These states have been baked by the drought, ironically caused by the same weather system flooding the Midwest.
Until we see something move this high-pressure area out of the southeast, we're not going to see the continuous rain stopping in the Midwest, nor are we going to see the drought stopping here in the southeast.
Some growers are desperately working to save their crops. But agriculture experts say most farmers in the drought-stricken areas don't have irrigation systems. They depend only on rainfall, which they haven't had in significant amounts for months. The dry conditions have stunted the growth of peaches, forecasting shortages at the supermarket. And dairy cows need more hay and less heat.
We're supposed to have had 3 cuttings already.
And you got 1 cutting?
We haven't had one yet. No.
You didn't get one?
It turned dry too quickly.
And it's expected to stay dry through mid-August. That could make this summer's crop damage in the southeast worse than the losses suffered in 1986, which at the time was called the drought of the century. Diana Gonzalez, CBS News, Miami.
Right in the heart of the heat wave, fire broke out this evening at Fulton County Stadium in Atlanta. It spread through several skyboxes as fans were starting to file in for tonight's baseball game between the Atlanta Braves and the St. Louis Cardinals. Police say the fire may have started in a nearby television press box. No injuries reported, and officials say the game will go on. Stay here with us for much more CBS Evening News, including the smallest victims of genocide in Bosnia and those most challenged to survive.
Hey, you know what they're doing in there? It's great. Red Lobster's got this enormous shrimp platter. You get to mix and match 30 shrimp for just $9.99. You get 30 shrimp in whatever combination you choose of grilled shrimp, fried shrimp, or scampi. Mix and match 30 shrimp into the combination you love best for just $9.99. My son even got a kid's shrimp meal for just $2.99. I can hardly wait to come back to Red Lobster and do it again.
I got tired of talking about feeling fit, so I decided to do something about it. The hard part was putting the shoes on again. The easy part is eating Wheaties. It's made with 100% whole grain. Most cereals aren't. And Wheaties is a low-fat energy source. That's important. The kids made fun of me at first until they realized I could catch them easier, right? Right. I just like it when I feel more fit. That's why I'm getting into Wheaties.
A night for Excedrin PM.
Why can't I turn off this day?
You backed into my car.
Everyone else is going. I am still your mother. My head aches and I can't sleep.
You want Excedrin PM. Strong aspirin-free headache medicine you can feel good about, plus a gentle ingredient to help you sleep.
Lovely lake. In your basement.
Turn off the day with Excedrin PM, and rest assured it's aspirin-free.
He was obsessed with a TV star. Then he killed her. But you don't have to be famous to fear a stalker. 48 Hours, Wednesday.
2 more U.S. soldiers were wounded in Somalia today. They were hit when snipers fired on a UN peacekeeping vehicle, the second such incident in 2 days. The attacks are blamed on gunmen loyal to fugitive warlord Mohammed Adid. In Bosnia, Serbian forces are pressing their assault now on a mountainside overlooking Sarajevo, trying to tighten their already snug noose around the besieged capital. Bosnian troops, most of them Muslim, are reportedly holding the line against an onslaught of artillery, tanks, and ground forces. Amid all that, UN peacekeepers have come to the rescue of hundreds of mental patients at a hospital in the war zone just north of Sarajevo. Mark Phillips has a report.
It will take more than a bath and clean clothes to cleanse the children of Fojnica of what they've been through. Today, the mentally handicapped children who had been abandoned by retreating Bosnian Croats look merely disturbed and in need of care. Yesterday, UN troops discovered a scene from hell, even by Bosnian standards. Muslim, Croat, and Serb children abandoned, scavenging for food amid their own waste for more than 3 days. Today, UN soldiers mounted a cleanup operation for which there is no military training.
What we've sent in is an initial stopgap. This is what we can do as an immediate measure. But what it now needs is a professional staff to look after the children.
In fact, the UN today sent in a man who has seen this sort of horror before. In Romania, where hauntingly similar scenes were discovered after the fall of communism there. Bosnia now, Romania then. And as in Romania, some of these Bosnian children may be as much victims of mistreatment as of illness.
The old system has been destroyed, and something has to be put in its place to give those children hope for the future.
For all the deprivation and cruelty in Romania, the situation there was at least relatively stable and fixable. Viewed from the west, the war in Bosnia produces only ever-deepening levels of despair. In the end, only the first victims, the most vulnerable, are the same.
Children are innocent victims, and we can never turn our backs on children in a situation like that.
The UN, already strapped for cash, has now appealed for more money to care for its new, young, bewildered charges. Mark Phillips, CBS News, London.
The Vatican today confirmed an account of an exorcism, a casting out of demons, performed by Pope John Paul II. A book by a former papal aide says it happened in 1982 when a woman began rolling on the floor and shouting in the Pope's presence. Pope John Paul immediately said a prayer of exorcism. The woman returned to normal after the rite was finished, and the Pope promised to say a Mass for her the next day. Still to come on tonight's CBS Evening News, Eye on America, small towns with big worries as teen gangs bring urban violence to Main Street, USA.
What you gonna do when TVG comes for you?
Everyone's looking for a good value these days. I'm no different. I buy bargain brands for some things, but when it's medicine I put in my body, especially a pain reliever, then I choose Advil. My doctor recommended it by name, and I've had it work on enough headaches to know it really does the job. The price? Advil can be only pennies per tablet, and if that's all it costs to help get rid of my pain, I call that real value. Advil, advanced medicine for pain.
My hemorrhoids hurt so much, I was afraid I needed surgery. But my doctor said they weren't serious, and it's time I used Preparation H.
Preparation H helps relieve the symptoms of inflamed hemorrhoidal tissues, often bringing relief from itching, burning, and painful irritation for hours. Doctor recommended Preparation H.
Day after day, you make those glasses of thick Metamucil disappear. Why not make them all disappear with FiberCon? Doctor-recommended FiberCon gives you the same fiber regularity in tablets.
Easy to swallow tablets.
Get doctor-recommended FiberCon.
You ever look at all the different ways plastic makes life better? Like these plastic helmets that help make it safer to take Sam here for a ride. And plastic insulation that keeps our homes warm and saves energy. But what about these plastic foam cups? Well, they save energy too, because they take less energy to make than many other disposable cups. And they keep sodas nice and cold. Right, Sam? To learn more, call this number for a free booklet and take another look at plastic.
How fetal monitors make high-risk pregnancies less dangerous. Then Harry Smith live from the mighty Mississippi in the flood of '93 tomorrow on CBS This Morning with Paula Zahn.
Street gangs. They've been around in this country since about the end of the last century. There are at least 5,000 of them now, mostly in big cities. But lately, these gangs and the crime and violence associated with them are springing up in small towns. Anthony Mason hit the streets for tonight's Eye on America.
Rapid City, South Dakota, population 55,000. And a Wednesday night rock concert brings multiple arrests for open beer cans.
You're not carrying any knives, guns, bazookas, anything like that with you?
Small crime in a small town. But these days, Rapid City has bigger worries.
Quite a little gang violence.
Officer Louis Lang is with the city's new gang task force.
There are some of the lynch mob.
That's the name of the gang, the lynch mob?
Yeah.
It's a friendly name.
They never thought it would be a problem out here in the Black Hills of South Dakota. Then 2 years ago, just down the road from Mount Rushmore, police in Rapid City saw it starting.
We began seeing more assaults, more fights, more weapons involved, calls.
These are marks that were burned into your arm with a knife.
How about that?
And that's how you were initiated into the gang?
Yep.
Frank is 15 years old and says he's a member of Rapid City's biggest gang, the Boys.
This whole block's my turf.
This is your turf.
Yeah, anybody walks in there I don't like that says anything, I just run over there and knock them off.
And the enemy is just across the street.
Right over there in the red house, bunch of punks.
The lynch mob. What do these guys do to you?
They usually do rocks. They usually start like calling
They throw rocks where? At your house?
Yeah.
Over here?
And then they'll start calling us names. They're putting our gang down. They'll be kicking out of one of our gang members, and then there'll be about 30 of them beating up one of ours.
Across the country, in smaller communities from Portland, Maine to Eugene, Oregon to Des Moines, Iowa, police are facing a gang problem.
Iowa. There's little bumper stickers. Isn't this heaven? But even in Iowa, they're talking about Crips, Bloods, folks, people, vice lords.
Michael Walker and Linda Schmidt of the Ohio Task Force on Violent Crime travel America warning parents and teachers that gangs are not just a big city problem.
Little girls who join gangs are initiated by sex, gang rape.
And so if it's in Iowa, rest assured, it's in the rest of America.
It arrives in the small towns on America's cultural highways. Music, the movies.
At first it seemed glamorous, like, living on the edge.
She is afraid to be identified. In Fort Wayne, Indiana, she is one of many kids who the YMCA is trying to help break their gang connection.
I was expected to either break into a house, do a drive-by shooting, or shoot somebody.
Disobedient members faced serious consequences.
Like your whole family could die if you do one thing wrong and they don't like it.
Do you believe that?
Yeah, I believe that.
What does it take to get a kid out of a gang? I mean,
Time.
YMCA counselor Angie Hammonds knows and now has her own gang of success stories.
These kids are drawn into gang activity because the gangs will give and die for them. They'll give 100% of their life to them. And so we, as adults, have to be willing to give 100% of our lives to these children.
But in Rapid City, where they started policing the problem early, they're not certain they can wipe it out.
I've heard it said that gangs are like cockroaches. Once you've got them forever.
you like being a gang member?
Yeah?
How come?
It's my heart, man.
He says he joined a year ago. He already has a police record, and there are now hundreds of others like him on the streets of Rapid City. In South Dakota, I'm Anthony Mason for Eye on America.
What you gonna do when Chief Zeke comes for you?
What's happening to our children? Part of our world tonight. Coming up tomorrow on CBS This Morning, live from the banks of the Mississippi, Harry Smith with an update on the still very big story of Midwest flooding. For the CBS Evening News, Dan Rather reporting. Connie Chung will be back from her trip to the West Coast tomorrow, so she and I will see you here tomorrow. Good night.